Thanks very much, everybody, and absolutely delighted to be here today to talk about Kairos. I think this event is truly unique. It's a great opportunity for shareholders to confront managing directors and senior executives, really to look at the performance of the company and talk about the plans going forward for companies like Kairos. Today I'm going to focus on something a little bit different with Kairos. I'm sure we're pretty well known as a Western Australian exploration company and resource development company. In the time that I've been at the helm of Kairos, we've seen a doubling of the resource at Mount York Gold Project in the Pilbara. We now sit at 1.6 million ounces of gold, most of it contained in a single unit. And continuous mineralisation. I'll talk a little bit about that. We announced the resource upgrade on Monday this week from 1.1 million ounces to 1.6, which I thought was a stellar result. Unfortunately, the market thought otherwise. And I've really explained to a lot of shareholders that have come past the booth today what my thoughts are on that. But importantly, we have exploration tenements about 2,500 square k's in really prime gold and lithium, importantly lithium country. And I'm going to talk mostly about the lithium potential of the company, and I'm really excited. And I know the exploration team is as well. So as investors, I'm going to pitch this to you. I think the 40 million market cap of the company right now really doesn't scratch the surface of the gold project alone, but if we assume that all the market capitalisation goes into the gold project, then there's plenty of leverage on what I'm going to tell you about the lithium story of the company, and we're very excited. Just lastly, before I start talking about the technical aspects of our portfolio, I just want to draw your attention to what Kairos actually means. And a shareholder came up to the booth yesterday and said to me, "Pete, when are we going to see the share price at $1? And I welcome such discussions. I think it's incumbent on any managing director to really look at value add for shareholders. And one thing I will say to everybody in this room and outside is that one really good way to get the share price of your company up is to make a discovery. And at the moment, we might see a lull in the gold price, or not a lull in the gold price, a lull in the gold market, which I think Hedley Widdop summarised quite clearly this morning. But essentially, I think if you make a discovery, particularly in lithium right now, I think it will be quids in for the shareholders. So let me carry on. I will be making some forward-looking statements today. Kairos in a bit of a snapshot there. Share price about 2 cents right now. Market cap of around that 40 million mark. In terms of the enterprise value, it sits at around 40 million bucks, and enterprise value over resources, if we take the market capitalisation to be fully on the gold, we're looking at a low to mid 20s, $20 per resource ounce, which is pretty low on a peer comparison basis, particularly when we are in tier 1 location. And if you believe what I say, that resource is going to grow. And I've been consistent with that. I've said that I can increase the resources, I have, but I don't think we're finished on the gold story there yet. We've got a very supportive board. The board likes to drill holes. We've got some legends in the mining industry there. We've got Klaus Eckhoff, and anybody that knows Klaus knows that he comes with a lot of clout. He's German. He's got a German accent. Scares me sometimes, but he's one of the true mining entrepreneurs and supportive of ASX-listed companies. Mark Calderwood. Mark's effectively one of the only directors on the ASX that's built both gold projects and lithium projects, and we're not to underestimate that. And we have Zane Lewis on corporate compliance and Phil Coulson on the financing side. So I've got a very supportive board. They want to see me drill holes. So, major gold deposit in the Pilbara, we are talking about Mount York. You can walk, and essentially the scale here, I know there was discussion about scale yesterday and talking about walking backwards and forwards in the room here, but the scale of Mount York is huge. The main mineralisation sits in a continuous 3-kilometre long zone, most of which sticks out of the ground. It's a ridge line, and that may have implications for us if we go into a mining phase. The strip ratios potentially could be quite advantageous to us. We did upgrade the resources, 49 million tonnes, just over a gram for 1.62 million ounces. And there is a good news story. I'll talk more about the resource in a second. And we think that really it does underpin the value of Kairos at the moment. We're really focused now on the next stage of the project, which is really looking to boost those resources even more. And the internal, I suppose, vision of the company, not an exploration target, is to grow that to 2 million ounces and beyond. And I think that's pretty doable. And in the past, I've said what I'm going to do, and I would say that hopefully this time next year, we'll be sitting above 2 million ounces. The mineralisation is captured largely within a banded iron formation, and if there's any geologists in the room, if you're looking at continuous mineralisation in a banded iron formation, then you really have to take note. There's some very, very large gold deposits in Africa, South America, sitting in banded iron formations, and we feel we have one here as well. So like I said, I think I can drill a hole anywhere in the system at any depth, and I'm still going to hit mineralisation. It's as clear as that. This is from the resource statement we put out on Monday. There's some really good news in the resource itself. Although lowish grade, we do see a lot of upside. Out of that 1.6 million ounces, 1 million of those ounces sit at 1.5 grams a tonne. So there's definitely pods of mineralisation within the deposit which are actually really high grade. And we've really only scratched the surface on this. I think the deposit is still not really well understood. We've had some startling results in this deposit, drilling it over the course of the last 5 or 6 years since Kairos has owned it. There has been some results of 109 metres at 2.09 in historic drilling, and more recently we announced 10 metres at 4.9 in the breccia zone as well. And we feel some of these grades and widths are actually potential underground targets for future. If we reduce the cutoff to 0.3, we're actually looking at about 70 million tonnes at 0.84. And again, there's another story in that. And when we do optimise the resource, we'll start looking at potentially incorporating those lower grade ounces into the project in future. So the growth strategy, I've touched on the growth strategy really in terms of looking at the deposit itself. Main Hill is still yet to be fully drilled out, and we feel that there's some major surprises that will happen when we start drilling again in the future in that part of the deposit. It's 100 metres wide, the banded iron formation, and almost all of it is mineralised. We haven't, for various reasons, we haven't drilled into Main Hill, but that's one of our targets going forward. We also have a series of probably a dozen prospects, some of which have received some drilling, but most of them don't. I might mention Gilt Dragon here, again a hole 19 metres at 1.3, not startling grades, but certainly that hasn't been followed up at all, and particularly from the Old Faithful pit to the north. Moving to the south, there's a 4-kilometre zone that you see on the slide there that really hasn't had a drill hole in it. So we do feel that there is upside in the immediate tenements, but we also feel that there's gold in the area, which will also be followed up as well, and that's off lease. But the real story today is about lithium, and I really want to spend a little bit of time on this slide. This is our Roe Hills project, 100 kilometres east of Kalgoorlie. In the top there, you'll see the Mana lithium tantalum resource, currently 32.7 million tonnes at about 1% lithium. It sits in a northeast orientation, as does our Black Cat anomaly. And the Black Cat anomaly is 2.8 kilometres long It's on our tenement. It surrounds the western side of the Cardunia Sina granite, and it has all the geochemistry of a Mana lookalike. Now, GL1 bought Mana for about $300 million the other day, and we feel really quite compelled to drill our lithium target of Black Cat and Crystal Palace. That's a bit of a, if I can just point to Black Cat itself. Black Cat is a 2.8 kilometre long anomaly here. If you're looking for lithium anomalies in the Yilgarn, you want to find in the soils, you want to find an elevated level of lithium, but you also want to find elevated pathfinder elements like cesium, beryllium, and tin. And that's exactly what we have at Black Cat. We've sampled it 3 times now. It doesn't go away, it gets stronger. We feel that it's in situ, and we just cannot wait to put a drill hole into that. And I'm pretty sure that what's underlying Black Cat is a lithium pegmatite system. I just can't quantify it or know what the mineralogy would be, but I think there's going to be a lot of people that are watching when we do start drilling that particular prospect, and Crystal Palace as well. Very excited about the potential of the Roe Hills area. Another project that we are looking at very seriously is to drill what we call the Pilgangoora Extensional project. The Mount York leases, the 2 mining license applications that you see there, border to the south and to the east, the major deposit of Pilgangoora. And we know that Pilgangoora system shown in the red there, those pegmatites dip at about 40 degrees to the east. So we feel on a geological trajectory that mineralisation at some stage will come across our lease, and particularly towards the south as well. And we're going to test that theory. We plan to do a couple of drill holes. We're currently scoping out whether we can feasibly do some 2D seismic, which is a low-cost method to determine exactly where those pegmatites may be. We're looking at running some 2D seismic there. If we can't do that, we will potentially drill 2 reasonably deep holes. And really what we're focused in on there is on the far right-hand side of that slide, you'll see the target area. It's actually not necessarily the main deposit and the deposit extension of Pilgangoora, but it's the hanging wall zone where we know that Pilbara minerals have not necessarily tested. So we're looking for hanging wall structure, pegmatites, probably in the top 200-300 metres there. Again, these are game changer projects for Kairos. And we know the value of lithium, we know the value of spodumene pegmatites, and really that's what we're chasing for shareholders. This was an interesting one. This is back to Roe Hills now. In our multi-element geochemistry, we found that we had some very high yttrium numbers in our soils. And yttrium does proxy for the heavy rare earths, so there's a bit of geochemistry there. And we bought the rare earth package and found, lo and behold, that we do have a 1 kilometre by 600 metre wide zone that's really enriched in both light rare earths and heavy rare earths as well. It's really early stage for us at this project, but it will certainly be part of the 4,000 metre drill program at Roe Hills that we will embark on as soon as our heritage is completed, and hopefully within weeks. So we will be testing this target. It doesn't seem to have a thorium or uranium signature to it, but we're certainly very excited about having this. We call it Blue Jay, but it also could have been called Welcome Surprise. Thanks so much. I've got a booth at the back. If any shareholders haven't come through the booth, then please do. I'm happy to talk about anything. I found that the discussion with shareholders has been absolutely brilliant, and you guys are scarily informed of our projects and how we operate as a company, so I really do welcome discussions with all and any of you. Thanks ever so much.